We have a warehouse that we're going to go look at. We moved our stuff there. We know we'll do some things there, but we're going to see how conducive, is that the right word? How conducive that is and what we need to do there. But we can fit 150 people there. So I purposefully, like, if you guys that have been around, I haven't posted any of this. I haven't been posting online. I told the group earlier, I said, one of the things I'm afraid of in a good fear is I don't want to put a structure together that I later have to tear down. I'm really good at tearing things up. But I don't want to have to unnecessarily do that, you know. And so I've just been really creating space. Just space to see, space to hear what's next, and not even asking questions. Listen, a lot of times you go into that space and you already have, let's see, Dr. David Hawkins says it like your positionality. You already have a position on the subject, okay? And so then you're going to hear through that position. Now, I understand that we are all already whole, we're already healed. I understand those positions, okay, our origin. But when I go into that space within me and I get quiet just to see and hear, I go into it with a lot of questions, but not just pushing for that one thing. Because if they compared the scripture, the people that wrote, they compared it to the wind, the Spirit of God to the wind. I know that it's fluid. These are the words they had, okay? We would have said energy today. We would have said even nuclear energy. We would have used terms like they are using today that people are still trying to say no. Because it was a description of movement that was unseen, but you knew when it was manifesting. You don't know where it's coming, where it's going, but it's manifesting. Or they would say breeze or breath. So this is in their mind, these writers are trying to describe spirit. Or even the word spirit was later used. It actually comes from the word spiral. It's a Latin word, spirit. Okay, it's fluid. So if you're getting into that space to be blown with the wind, to be a part of the flow of creation, to be in harmony, you come to a place of neutrality. And that's key in everything. Neutrality is, I just trust you. Whatever it looks like, I trust you. Neutrality is you walk outside and you realize that the trees know how to grow, the stars know how to shine, the sun and the moon are the right distance. Man is really jacked up. But your life isn't working. Really? We're the most intelligent mammals, if you will, on the earth, and our life isn't working. There has to be a key. There has to be something that we're pushing against rather than flowing with. And there is a harmony within us. Like right now as we're talking, even if you are in turmoil emotionally, right now as we're talking, your body's in harmony. Some of our bodies need some a little more harmony, right? But your heartbeat, your breath, your blood is flowing, you know when it's out of rhythm. You know when it's out of sync, right? But it was what we also know. We're also intelligent enough to know that we were created to be healthy. We were created to be part of the whole picture. So, the first question is, well, what's up? Why is this not working? Okay? And then for me, the next step is there's a flow. There's a flow in your life. There's a fluidity. There's a movement with the wind, with the breath, with the heartbeat, however you want to say that brings our life back into a state of origin, a state of wholeness. And so when I go into that space, in fact, the word holiness is the word spaciousness in Aramaic. Okay? Creating space. It's the picture of a bride creating the bridal chamber. It's the picture of a farmer getting the dirt ready for the seed. So all of a sudden, it's the picture of us releasing our thoughts, releasing what we think is the most important, even in our prayers. Releasing it, coming to a blank. It's the canvas that's blank. That's what the word holiness means, spaciousness. And then there's a waiting and a trust that begins to happen. And once that begins to happen, there's a rhythm that your life begins to join. And you know when you're in it. How many of you guys know when you're in it? And you know when you're not in it. And when I'm not in it, when we're not in it, we're operating from a lower kingdom. We're operating from a mind that believes itself to be separated. Okay? And so I kind of drew this a little bit. We'll see. And I will post this. It might be hard to watch on here. But I'm going to go into a little bit the creation story. There's a lot of stories. And whether you think it's metaphoric or literal I think it's a little more metaphorical than literal, but you can interpret everything that you read. You can do it literal, that's one level, metaphorically and mystically. Okay? What we've gotten divided on, what religion divides us on, is we take things literally. Rather than, now let me ask you this, is the spirit, is fluidity a literal, concrete thing? No, you can't nail it down. You don't know where it's coming or where it's going. So all this, this is my rag dog. So all this division and trying to get it right and all of these things we created from a separate mind. Even down to doctrine. You're telling me that God is really mad at people because he doesn't know that his son's name is Jesus. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? Like, you better get the name right when you get up to Judgment Day. You don't get the name right, you're out. Like, who wants to serve a God like that or be, with that? So, but we're going to look at the story of Eden and look at this like mystically and metaphorically, okay? So the name Eden actually means bliss. It's a garden. Maybe it's like there's a consciousness, you're a garden, okay? So Eden. So we know, according to that story, when creation began, man, woman, all of a sudden there was a form created to show the reciprocal love. It's nature in form. Simple, nature in form. Listen, creation, whether you're creating it or somebody else or just God himself, whatever, creation is just communication in form. That's what it is. So whatever is all around your life that's been created, it's communicating what's going on the inside of you. If it's chaos, if there's chaos everywhere you go, and you're the one experiencing it, you're also the one communicating it or creating it, okay? Because people can live in the middle of chaos and be full of peace and have a whole different reality. So I believe that duality, everyone say duality, is the door to this realm. So here creation started. This story talks about bliss. It's bliss, man. God is going to create part of who he is in nature. He starts creating all these beautiful things in nature as the story goes. And then we know that God is feminine and masculine. He creates two forms, and he says, now you're going to see in a physical world the nature of who I am. You're going to see the wind. You're going to see the wind. You're going to see the origin. So, of course, you guys know the story. When man began to eat from their own mind, okay, of good and evil, duality, that is the door that began to create in this realm. Duality is a door, good and evil. So then all of the realities throughout history that were created, some are good, some are evil. Some are good, some are evil. And you have to choose which is good or which is evil. Every history that you read, everything that you read, that man created, it's good and evil. The exciting thing is what's created in the temporal world is temporal. So even at the end of the book, in the book of Revelation, it talks about the two trees on each side of the river, and it's talking about metaphorically, mystically, and it called them the tree of life. That everything, even good and evil, was all brought into life. So everything that was communicated, everything that I communicate, everything I create is communicating. And according to my communication or creation will be my experience in this world. Even the world of duality has one purpose, and it's to mature us into a divine reality. The word truth, sharara, in Aramaic, when Yeshua would have said truth, it means divine reality. It doesn't mean this is true. It means this is true. Right. Eden, bliss, harmony, the trees that know how to grow, the animals, everything that's in order. It's a divine reality in form, right? So even duality, even evil, what we would call evil, unripe is what that word meant in Aramaic. It's once you begin to see the way, all that Yeshua did, all that this Son of the Man did was begin to realize what was happening on the inside of him, which was the kingdom. I talked to you about the Malkuta is here. He allowed that to become his greatest reality until they said, is this not the Christ? That was it. Christ is a position. Christ is, of course, they were looking for it, and they had all these prophecies. But once he realized the Malkuta, the voice, the breeze, what was happening on the inside was divine reality, was truth. Once he tuned into that, that's what the whole Lord's Prayer is about a tuning in, okay? Once he attuned into that, and that became his reality, then all he did in his lifetime, the Son of Man, operated as the Son of God and brought people into his reality, where there's only wholeness, where there's only peace, where there's only abundance, where there's only joy. And he meant to do it so that we would do it. Not that we would think we can't do it and we need to keep our heads at his feet. There's a reason he was called our brother, he was called our husband, he was called one of us. He came as, it was God in form, but we are God in form, unrealized. That's all it is. We're unawakened to it. Like I asked somebody yesterday, how many people that you know have begun to get to a level of awakening that they're like, is not Christ here? Like, I'm the one. Right. It's Neo, I'm the one. Now we're talking on a crazy scale. I mean, we're in a really crucial space right now, this family. Because we could be at a tipping point, according to your decisions, according to what I want to realize, according to every day when I practice that duality, reality isn't real to me. Right. What you validate or what you value as real is your reality. Doesn't mean it's my reality, right? So if you validate it, if you validate what your mind is telling you, what the accuser's twisting and telling you, then that's going to be your reality. And some of you, I mean, to just give you an example, you walk in a room and you can feel rejection. You can feel, you call it discernment because you've had enough church that you call it discernment, but you're suspicious. You feel torment. Other people can be in the same room and they just feel peace and they see where the breeze is. Because they've developed recognizing the breeze, the exhale, the creation of God, the truth. What you validate will be your experience. So if I am depressed, that can serve me, okay? Once I have enough of it and I want something different, I can move into a new reality, okay? But if I'm depressed and I think that that's it, that's my reality, then I'm just depressed. And so how many of you guys have siblings and they start telling stories about what happened when you were growing up and you're like, that is not how it happened at all. It's because you're already living in different realities. Every one of you are in a different reality right now. Right. Every one of you. Some of you guys are receiving words of life. Do you have ears to hear? And some of you are annoyed. Who's annoyed? So duality is the door that brought us into this realm. So everywhere we see. And thank God it's getting crazy. Pick a side, pick a side, pick a side. I mean, we're arguing over crazy things now. But that's what it's taking for us to wake up and realize it's all crazy. Right. As soon as it's good, it swings over to evil. Okay? So, good and bad, there's many realities that begin to happen. Everything that you're experiencing it on the inside. Everything. I'm sorry that your dad did that to you. I'm sorry that your uncle was this way. Okay? But if you're still experiencing it, it's an inside job. You're validating it as real, and so you're carrying that reality. Some people, you guys remember The Blind Side? I was thinking about that. And he said his mom just taught him to close his eyes. Just close your eyes. So all this chaos will be going on around. It was a true story. And he's in a crack house and all these things. And she said, how did you make it out? Sandra Bullock. How did you make it out? And he said he would just close his eyes and he'd count. And he made it out and ended up being just a great NFL player and a great person. Okay? Like, do you know people that have gone through what you've gone through? And they don't think the same. And they're in it. They actually, Alex had a dream, and in the dream, this one person chose death, but they never died. They were a corpse in a body. You know, I've been going to this spin class, and I really love it because it has those big screens that go around you like this, and it's like you're in it. And I mean, it's digital. And so yesterday I went to Egypt, and you're underground Egypt, and you're spinning through, and there's all these different things, and there's UFOs. But then you start seeing people walking around, and I'm like, this is how it kind of feels in the world. Like, I'm looking at all these digital people, and you don't even know if they're there. Yeah, and I'm sitting here going, like, imagining myself in this world, looking for life. That's what people are doing. They're just walking around looking for life. Just give me a drink of life. That's why they said, man, where else are we going to go? You have the words of life. It wasn't, they thought it was coming from him to them, but they were hearing it on the inside. They didn't realize that they also had the deposit until he left. He had to leave so they could understand that I don't believe it says, I know what it says, you guys, but the kingdom never left the earth. The Malkuta was within mankind, okay? There was an awakening that was happening. So here, the creation, Eden's bliss, and the origin, it's God saying, okay, this is a picture, even if it was just the writing that's a creation, that 1 is 2 is 1. What does love look like? Love looks like 1, 2, coming back together, multiplying. It looks like something. It's the nature of something. It's reciprocal. It's circular. Okay? So God incarnate, when I begin to think of that, even the word Yeshua meant Yahweh saves. Okay? So we've created all these realities since the beginning of time. Now listen, you guys. God always visits us in your reality. He has to. God has to. How else is he going to visit you? The cross was because they were sacrificing people. The cross is because they had such darkened minds. They needed that level of a visual. He came to show, but what the cross really was, one of my favorite books years ago that I read was Devern Fromke. It was probably before 2000. But he said the cross is an inward reality that's already within God. It's part of the nature. It's living unto another rather than living just for self. It's giving. It's blessing. It's not the ego, me, my, I'm going to protect it. Okay? And so it was a concept that had to be walked out, especially in that time. So we're looking at this mystically. We're looking at this metaphorically. So the cross represented the death of dualism. As Darren was going, and he's still bossing me around, man. He had 24 hours left of his life on earth. Just kidding. And he's making me repeat him. There's only one voice. There's only one breath, basically, is what he's saying. There's only one frequency, if you want to say that. There's only one energy. There's only one. Only one voice will we listen to. And I'm saying it. I have it on recording if you want to hear it. It's very hard to hear because he can barely breathe, but he's sitting there saying, what you see, Sheila, is not reality. What you're feeling in your emotions is not a reality. You can make it your reality, and a lot of people have, and they're tormented until they die. Okay? But he's sitting there leading me when he can barely breathe, and he's saying there's only one voice. So then I'm coming into agreement with it. I'm drawing pictures. I'm moving into it. There's only one reality. What I see, feel, hear, taste, and touch. It's just like you're drunk out of your mind. You guys ever been drunk out of your mind? You speak to yourself. This isn't real. Or how about if you're so freaking hormonal you want to scratch and punch everybody? You have an inner voice that says, this is you. Okay? So the whole time I'm in one reality, I'm speaking to myself. There's only one reality. And it's not duality. It's a song. There's only one reality. It's not duality. There's only one. So literally the duality is to cause us to grow. This is why, like when you're in the military or you're being trained for something, they will assimilate, is that the right word? As if you're in a real gunfight. But you're not, but it's preparing you for one. That's why you tear your gun down and put it together and tear it down and put it together. It's not an emergency, but it's preparing you, it's growing you, it's maturing you to live in that state and know what to do. That's what we're in this world of duality for. To find that one voice, to find that one flow, and to live in it. This is why we like the triggers. People are like, oh, you're triggering me. I want to trigger you. You cannot grow unless you see where you're operating from a lower reality. There is no growth. Okay? This is the tossing to and fro here and there and everywhere. Do you guys understand that the gospel, whether it was the part of the gospel, the agnostic texts that weren't put in, which I absolutely love, oh, yeah. Or if it was the gospel that was put together that our church fathers approved of, or if it was books that Buddha did, or Hindu, whatever books, and these people were sitting down with Revelation. There's tons of books right now that people are channeling that are freaking amazing. What does the word gospel mean?
Good news.
Good news. I know we made it way more religious than that. Way more religious. You are the good news. You are the word. You are the expression in form. When they sat and wrote down, they were telling their experiences. That's it. We're still quoting and crossing and dotting and highlighting and trying to live by their experiences and arguing over their experiences. But the victory, the growth that's been in your life, I mean, Melissa's sitting there telling Alex all what she's learning. And Alex is like, it's freaking amazing. You know why? It's the gospel. It's the gospel in Melissa form. It's no different, you guys. It is. It's the good news in your life. Go ahead.
I'll just say, so what's the difference, I'm setting you up for this, so what's the difference between channeling, as you said, and being prophetic?
Well, okay.
There is no difference.
There is no difference. Right. It's if you're listening to the one voice. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. Like, listen, the Course of Miracles, that sucker's this big. The lady was a freaking atheist. She didn't believe in God. All of a sudden, she starts hearing this voice. Read some of it. She must believe it now, you know. Your soul is always channeling. That's just a term that we said, oh, that's a new age. I mean, listen, ignorance labels stuff. Yeah. Ignorance in you, ignorance in me labels stuff so we don't have to understand it. It's us and them. It's duality. Don't label anything. Don't label anything. Somebody's saying it in words that are triggering you, but it's your triggers. Sit and listen for the one voice that's within you. And you're going to find out that people are saying some things that are beautiful, and I misrepresent myself all the freaking time. Have you guys ever just poured, you're in a conversation, you tell it, and then they repeat what you said, and you're like, no, that's not wrong. That's what's happening in the world. But you've got to get back, listen, I am so banking on you guys. I am so putting my chips all in. I don't even know what that means. On you guys. The gospel, the good news is within every cell of your being. I want to read your book. I want to hear your stories. You got to open. This is why we're doing some things in homes. You need to tell. You need to allow the flow. When you feel like you're completely defeated over here, you go back and you tell stories of where life was flowing through you. That's the good news. That's the gospel. That's what they recorded. And then they tweaked it, and they tweaked it, and they crossed it out, and they shaped it up, and they changed language, and now we fight over it and say that's the absolute word of God. You tell me that's not ignorance. Anyway. That's the one thing I loved when I was listening to Dale Allen. He's the Aramaic guy. He said at 7 years old, he put Bibles out, and he was like, well, they said it's the absolute word of God, but in order to publish another Bible, I think it has to be 28% different than the last translation. And there's hundreds of them. So at 7, he caught on. I know we've been a little more indoctrinated. We couldn't catch on. But at 7, he said, well, which one? That's like a third grade question. Which one is the absolute truth? Right? I'm going to read all of them, and I'll let you know. Okay. So, so this is kind of what I want to draw out for you guys real quick. Did I answer your question? Because I know you're trying to set me up.
Yes.
He's not talking anymore, so we're going to...
I said what? All right, let me talk to you guys about this real quick. Because this is going to address your prayers, the way you think, everything. Okay. Yeshua said, I am the way, the truth, the life. I am the light of the world. I am the good shepherd. I am the door, right? That word I am is ina na in Aramaic, which is the language he spoke, ina na. If it would have been translated correctly, because there was no verb, it would say I. I. So here he is.
Can you repeat that from the beginning?
Okay. I am, when Yeshua said, I am the way, the truth, the life, or when they recorded that he said it, no man comes to the Father but by me. So then we're always still looking back, okay? I am light of the world. I am the door. I am the good shepherd, okay? The word was ina na that he used. He could have spoke it out of his mouth, okay? There's no verb. It's not I am. It would say I. He had one message. It was the Malkuta, the presence, the empowerment, all of who God is, Allah, the absolute only one voice, one spirit is within you. That was his message. He never changed from it. Man made it, man added the born again part because of one man that visited him in the middle of the night. Okay? Man created it, the whole thing with the Trinity. That was 327 years later. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, okay? I'm just saying that's the truth, okay? When things were added, Yeshua, this Son of Man, Son of God, had one message, and it was the Malkuta, the Basilia, the feminine perception, the I can empowerment is within you already. Don't look here and there. It's within you. Okay? So all of a sudden, they didn't get it. They were still looking for him. Oh, if he would have died, if he wouldn't have, whatever. Until the wind came and kind of swirled it up. Like it's kind of like, when a tornado comes and stirs everything up, and all of a sudden the water that's within them gets stirred up, and they're like, wow, and they come out and they start preaching with power. It was already within them. They were being awakened to it. Okay? There really aren't these digital shells of men. It might be a little teeny light within them that they're not awakened to, and they're living out of their darkened mind. So, Ina Na would be I am, okay? The I within the I. He's showing them the door out of duality, and when he's saying I am the door, the I within the I is the door. So I'm talking to you, talking to me. Life is going on. You got to make decisions, this or that. You're stressed. Is this the right thing to do? You're in your head. We all understand the government of that. This or that. Duality. And he said, the I within the I. The I within the ego. There's a separate natural you. I'm looking at you. You're super handsome. Okay? There's a separate natural creation. There's a communication of who God is in this room. It's in every time you breathe. It's in your thumbprint. It's in your eyes. There's like the expression of God right here in the room. I see you as you're individual. Yet, he said, I and the Father are one. So remember, in bliss, in the garden of bliss, he said, here's my heart. I have male and female, but it's still only one. There's two energies. There's two expressions, but it's one. So that's bliss. That's the garden. That's what we're being conscious of. That's what we're being awakened to. And now here he is, and he's saying, I and the Father are one. It's the same thing. There's only one. There's only one. And so I am is the I within these individuals. There's a greater I. People call it the Christ I, the Christ man. You can call it the Spirit of God within you. I don't think God's wanting you to get your words right. He's wanting you to find the door. In everything in my life, find the door. There's a door. There's a door. I go outside and the grass is growing and the trees are growing and life is in harmony. The only thing that's out of harmony is what man's touching, what man's creating, what man's communicating. And in the middle of this chaos, there's a door. And the door is within the ego, it's within the individual self. It's the way, it's the truth, it's the life. It's the good shepherd. It's the light of the world within you. You've been sitting on a secret. You are the gospel. You are the gospel. All of the expression of God is already within you. You begin to acknowledge that. You begin to get awakened to that. And it begins to manifest, and all hell starts breaking loose in your life. Amen?
Amen.
Because what happens is what's poisonous, who you thought you were, duality, it starts pushing it out. You go back in, you all of a sudden, like I was dealing with fear. I'm going to Ecuador, and I felt like I wanted to go by myself. I had someone to offer to go with me and push it back a few days, but I want to deal with the fear. I want to sit with the fear. There's areas of, I went straight from my mom and dad, my mom and dad got divorced, to Darren at 17. And Darren was like a freaking superhero. Like, I would never know where he is in the mall, but he'd always know where I am. Right? Always. And so I never had to know. I'm like, I really like it like this. I like not to be in charge. I can just skip around, do my thing. It's like, and I'm going to be And it's not a question. If I was hidden, if I got lost in a jungle or on the side of the mountain, there's no faith involved. There's no like extra trust. Without a doubt, he's finding me. I was dead in a helicopter, guys. They told me I was dead twice. So they didn't tell me because I wouldn't have heard it. But when you're married to somebody like that, it's really easy to put that, right? So then I wouldn't have realized the levels of fear that I've governed by had he been here. Okay? So now I see it. I'm not afraid to die, I was telling him earlier, but I don't want to suffer. I'm not afraid to travel by myself, but to go there, I'm going to an ayahuasca retreat. For ceremonies, okay? The thought of vomiting without somebody there with a rag or holding me, or like it freaks me out. So last night, I'm feeling that reality as if I'm in it. I'm already feeling the reality. I mean, whenever I told Travis I would jump out of a plane with him. He was going to ask Grace to marry him, and he was going to jump out of a plane and ask him to marry him. So I'm like, I'll go with you. I'm saying things really fast, and then as soon as I felt it, I could feel it up and down my body. As if it's going to happen. So then I kind of pushed it off, and then this is my big ploy. This happened. This is really sad. The day of Elba and Eddie's wedding, here, I'm like, Travis. I give him a call, like 5 hours before. And y'all, I'm totally doing it so I don't have to jump out of a plane. I said, you want to ask Grace to marry you here because we're all going to be dressed up and everyone's going to be here. And Travis was like, okay. Yes. That wasn't about me, but I got out of that one, right? But guess what? Guess where the fear or that level of government remains? In me. I start talking about you know why I'm getting nervous when I start jumping out of planes? Because I know I'm going to do it. Before I talked about it and it wasn't a question. But now right now I can feel it up and down my leg. So it's a time though, because once you begin to go within, this reality gets bigger. When you feel the fear, when you feel the anxiety, when your mind's going crazy again, if you say, well, it didn't work. I went through the prayer line. I went to the retreat. We went through marriage. We did a mushroom journey, whatever it is you're into. We did all this, and it didn't work. As soon as you validate what's going on from the mind, that you're solidifying a reality that is not real, or it's temporal, it's duality. And your hair looks really good, Alex. And that will become your experience. So then the fear remains. The anxiety remains. Your body gets sick. Your body's trying to tell you, can you get this out of here? It was never meant to be here. Your body is not created to be sick. The sickness came from our creations. Now here's the arrogance. We create the sickness. Collectively, we decide when we get old. We decide when our eyes fail. We decide what food does to it. We decided it. We are creators. We're that part of God in form. Well, instead of going to the door, and God meets us in it, then we create the answer. Now, it's so easy to see in the medical world. We have, depression, but if you take this pill, it could cause suicidal thoughts. Yeah. Right? And so it's the good and bad. It's this and that, and it's constant. It's a system. Now, you don't get out of the system by being mad at the system. That could help you. That could help you get out of it. We created debt, and then we created the banking system, so we're dependent on the system. And it's just constant. Rather than looking for the door. And I'm telling you, within you, the creator of everything, every single answer is within you to come out of every situation and to walk in complete wholeness. I mean, I'll tell you scriptures that just, excuse my language, can God save a nation in a day? And then we well, yes, he can. Well, then why are you sick all the time? You're telling me you believe he can save a nation in a day, and we can't go within and let him first deal with us? I'm not condemning you. I'm talking to myself. I mean, if you weren't raised in the charismatic church, it was cities and nations and all of this, and we were broke and we were sick. We were like, oh, they're coming in, This army looks scarce, So there's a difference in I am realizing it's within me. That's what I'm after all the way through. I'm the gospel. It's within me, every cell of my being. The answer is here. I'm not going to look here and there. I'm going to go within. I'm going to go within, and there it is. And wholeness is manifesting, and God is communicating, and God communicates with creation. And my form is changing, and the things that are crazy are being pushed out, okay? That's a whole different thing than I want. I am is quite a bit different than I want. Let me tell you the difference, okay? I was listening to Dr. David Hawkins talk about this. If I say, in my mind, I don't even have to say it, I want a car, what does that tell you? Okay? I desire, I long for. That's why a lot of the Christian songs are crap. Because they're wanting something that they already are. They're really totally dismissing the fact that it's already here. It's done, man, here I am. So, man's reality that man created is a reality of lack. That's man's reality. Need, lack, want. That's the core of what separation is. So this is what keeps our churches in business. This is what keeps our counselors in business, and the doctors and the bankers and everything else. It's not that they're evil. God would meet you within your systems, but we're not to live in any of the systems. And what Yeshua did, what he did as a man, and others did it, you guys, but he began to understand that the I within the I is everything. I am my Father. Until, and he had to learn it. He had to learn obedience to the things that he suffered. He suffered in his mind because he would look at one reality and it would seem real, and then God would say, that's not what's real, and he'd have to go into this reality and be rejected by men and despised and all of these things, right? Until once he finally learned it, it said then he became the perfect, once perfected or once mature, he became the source of salvation or the door to show you how to walk in wholeness. So the difference with I want, and this is what I wrote, it's as soon as I say I want, even if I'm talking to God or I desire or, please heal me or whatever, I created a space in my life, spaciousness, holiness, of separation. And your body knows it. That's why it's not manifesting. Your body knows it. So for me, the reason neutrality's been so key, of course I know that wholeness is the will of God. Of course I know sickness, death, disease, all of these things are not how we were created, okay? But for me, when I'm in the reality and I'm seeing what's happening in that hospital room and I finally go, I'm dealing with the will of another person, I'm dealing with things I don't understand, when I finally go, I want to blow with the wind. I trust you. When I finally get to that space that no matter how it turns out, this is why I love the martyrs. Because they went into it not because they're going to be mad if it doesn't turn out. They went into it. I mean, you gotta honor these even the jihad that give their life. Like Christians have to have all eyes closed. Is the air conditioner okay? If there's anyone in this room, just give me a little nod. You know what I mean? And we're like, I love Jesus. Amen. If you don't confess him before or whatever. And these guys are like, we'll give our lives. That's why we named our youth group Kamikaze. Divine wind, willing to give your life for what you believe in. So as I cut my teeth on these martyrs, it wasn't that they wanted to die or they were just sadists. Is that what you call it?
Masochists.
Huh?
Masochists.
Oh, that's a good one too. But it was like it didn't matter. They were all in no matter what. And that's what we're after. That's what I'm after in my life. So it's facing the fears. It's facing these levels of government in your own being, these judgments, who you thought you were. It's being willing to be vulnerable. That's what the cross represented. And find that door. And validate what you see in the door. Validate what you see in the door. Validate what you see until you see it created or you see it manifest. Of course, God wants us in abundance and blessings and health and all of these things. So what Dr. David Hawkins was talking about, there's a difference in wanting and visualizing something. How many of you guys have seen yourself run a business? You've seen yourself in abundance. You've seen it, okay? You can see it and remain in this neutral space that you're trusting that you're getting. It's unfolding. I mean, there were always terms in Scripture like make known, the revealing, the unveiling, okay? Even in Yeshua's life, just like your life, there's an unveiling of who you are. There's an unveiling that all of God is within you. There's an unveiling that's not, you're not just a creation, that the Creator is within every cell of your being. It's an unveiling. So that's the part of me where I'm walking through something and I realize, this is what I felt like I heard God say, because I didn't have answers when I'm walking through all that in the hospital and everything. But I let them all go. I let everything go. I let the need to know go, because I trust. I trust Darren more than anything, and I trust God. And I felt like I heard God say, maybe this was just for me, but you'll know in time, or in time you'll know, right? Joni doesn't know how important it is for her to not, when she was 1, you guys saw the picture on Facebook probably, she's climbing the fence to go see the horses. And I'm right behind her, she doesn't know it. Right when she's throwing her leg over, I grab her by the back of the shirt. And she's bawling, she does not know how mean it is of me to keep her from jumping the fence to go see the horses. Okay? But in time, she'll know. And that was enough for me. In time, you'll know. There's an unveiling. Be patient. That's what I was telling Chris earlier. Be patient with the process. Continually do this and create space to see. The more you're seeing of who you are, the more you're understanding of who God is. Because you are the expression of God. The things that aren't working, that are painful, that are awful, that are dark, that are, those are what we created. So shifting, allow spirit, allow truth to show you where you're living in want, and you can release that. Like, here's the deal. What if it never turns out? What if it never turns out? That thing you're believing for. What if you die single? What if your child doesn't get healed? What if you lose everyone in your family? Like, I'll go down that road. Well, when that strike hit me, every one of my girls talked about not wanting to live. Every one of them. I had to go there. I couldn't keep it together. I had to go there and say, if every one of them are gone, I am who I am because I am. You see what I'm saying? And you're the only one that can choose for you a decision to find the freaking door. Just find the door. And I remember one time Nathan said, he started laughing. He goes, she acts like she doesn't know what to do. I mean, there's only one thing to do. I don't care what the heck you're going through. There's one thing to do. Find the eye within the eye. Find the eye within the eye. Sometimes it looks like you're just out on your own, outside screaming and cussing. And I remember Darren yelling at God, and he's like, what do you want? And God had him on his couch for 8 months. Sometimes it looks like being as silent as you can. The whole thing is, have you had enough of what you've created, of what man's created? Have you had enough? And understand, if it's still in your life, there's a part of you that's choosing it. Listen, there's a payoff to be depressed. It makes me mad. I don't like seeing this in myself. I see where I say things just to get a little bit of comfort or pity from people. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's a payoff. You get energy from people if they feel sad for you. We can go to the extreme, how they manipulate us in offerings and they pour it out and they show the children and all of this, okay? That's the extreme, but we do it every day. Or we do it all the time, right? And I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, the reason I try to hide out as much as I can, and I've kicked myself a few times, but because I don't want to process my soul. Because when I process my soul out loud with people, I start validating it, validifying it, and I start experiencing it more. This is why you go to the bar and you drink when you're mad at your wife.
Amen.
Because you get somebody to agree with you. And you just keep going down. We look for somebody to validate what we're feeling, and then all that's doing is it's keeping that duality reality in our life. And that's okay. All right? I remember when we would go through hardcore problems, my family had no idea. I'm sure they had an idea. They had no idea when we had no money. None. In case you didn't know that. And here's the deal. I would have wanted to, but I didn't. Darren, when you come out of prison and you get a girl pregnant and you have 2 other kids that you aren't fathering and you don't have a car or a job and maybe kind of a drug issue, you have a few strikes against you in the family. And so that was enough pressure for me not to be honest with my family and let them know what was going on. I didn't want to live around them. I didn't want them to see the suffering. Teresa would be the only one I would tell. In fact, one time when I left Darren because things that were happening, I called his sister because I wanted to protect him still. I wanted to protect that from my family. But it served me because if I would have just went here and just unloaded, that would have become more of my reality, their reality, and it would have solidified things. And there was a door out. There was always a door out. There's always a door out. He said, in him you're going to find good pasture where you can go in and out. He's talking about realities. You go in and out. You go in and you eat. And you find nourishment within your own being. And then you come out and you manifest what you found. It could be one little basket of cherries that's going to, feed the earth. All right? Maybe that's all it is. It could be one little encouraging word, like when you're talking to the architect. That's where the river is. Then you go back in. And you get some more. You go in and out. You come back out to this reality of duality, and you give more that's only true. You may not have very much to say. Then you go back in, and you find out what the reality is on that situation. And you go back out, and you're back in this world of duality, and you give them a word of life. And people are just like, oh, you have the words of life. And the more you go in, the more you come out, the more you're validating the reality that's within you is the only reality that's real. Every other reality is crumbling. Every reality. I didn't know this, and this makes me really mad. I'm almost done. Makes me really mad. That I used to beat myself up, just beat myself up and go over and over like I'm devastating people. I remember one time I used the term because people would say you're devastating them, and they left the church, and they're like your sister or whatever. It's like awful. And I remember God said, and he said, I heard it like this. You do not have the power to devastate somebody. And I didn't realize how arrogant I was being, that I would sit there and listen, you guys screwed your kids up, okay? You screwed them up. Get over it. It's so pride for me to go over it and over it and over what I did wrong. We operated at what we knew. It's done. We love them. We bless them. We go in. We give life. We go in. We give life. But the other thing is pride, man. I thought I owed it. I thought I should feel guilty. Of course, they're a little bit jacked up because of what I did. But of course, they have the eye within the eye, and they've got to find the door, and I was never the door anyway. I had this lady tell me, well, honey, with sugar, she goes, we got to teach our kids that they need Jesus, that's what she said, I'm like, well, I taught them. Like, get out of my face, you need Jesus, So the whole thing that I saw where I would I would preach. I've done this a lot in the last 2 years even. I would come home, take it offline, because I would be so tormenting myself over things I said. Because I really am. This kind of irritates me a little bit, not as much anymore. Because I really want to say whatever I'm saying. Right. And so then I'm watching what I'm saying, and then I would torment myself, unplug it, turn it off, just so I could sleep. So I know it's the YouTube channel is not out there. You know what I mean? I mean, it was so prideful. It's so prideful. Like, who cares? Just be you. Just be the gospel. Just go in, release it. It's gonna be fragmented at first. It's gonna be fragmented at first. Does that make sense? You're gonna have pieces of it. So everything you're going through is a symbol or a form or a tool for growth, if you can find the door. And you can find the door, it's within you. And you already know. Okay? What's kept us so small is we have gone here or there. We've joined doctrines, we've joined groups, we've followed things that are on the outside. That's what's kept us very small and weak. The empowerment that's here, the awakening that's here, cannot be stopped as you continue to understand that it's all within you. Isn't that exciting? Anybody want to say anything? Does anybody have one story of something that you know that God just did, that you manifested, that it was His goodness in your life? One story. We'll probably edit it out. It's fine. Anybody?
All right, I'll share my story.
All right.
So, I have to go.
You can come up here. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be right here with
So this
you.
week, I had a little bit of road rage with someone, and it was scary.
Come right over here.
And,
Was it Omar?
huh?
Was it Omar?
No, I said it was scary. And so this guy went nuts over me and followed me and all that. And for me to finally get away, I had to like pull over, pull down my windows, call the cops for him to finally leave. And when I left there, I got home and I'm like bawling. I'm a nervous wreck and I'm crying and it's a mess. But later on, I was pissed, guys. Like, I had thoughts that I shouldn't have, but I was really pissed. And and I had to really process that. And I realized that part of that, I really believe, and me and Alex talked about this, it was something I needed to experience. Because really what it brought up was the feelings that I had from abusive relationships. That anger, that bullying anger, I mean, woo! I wanted to like find this guy, guys. That's how pissed I was later on, was him bringing that up. And maybe it wasn't even that bad of a, like later on I said to Sheila, I said, maybe it wasn't even that bad of a situation, but because it brought up that trauma in me, it was worse for me because I created that reality in it.
Yeah. In your body.
In my body.
Did you guys see when she's doing this that it brought that up? Okay. Remember I said how a tornado does? Like this guy was probably sent by the wind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To stir this up because she's been carrying it.
Yeah. And then I got sick. I mean, like I've been eating really healthy for those of you that know, and I haven't had acid reflux. I haven't like had heartburn. I haven't felt any of that. Well, for 2 days I was bloated, heartburn. I couldn't breathe. My chest was tight, and it was everything I used to feel, you know. And so that's where our realities come in, our perceptions, that reality. We can take a situation, and it might not even be what we think, but that perception of what we felt or what we've experienced brings a new reality into it. And so it was, yeah. It was bad.
So you've been able to bless him like, thank you. No.
Yeah, no, I'm still looking for him. No, I'm kidding. I'll probably never see him, and I think he lives in my neighborhood, and I'll probably never see him again. But at that moment, I wasn't blessing him, I'll tell you that much.
What
But-
was it the guy
Did you
said
bless
in
him
King
with a finger?
Arthur? What was it he said
Yeah,
at the end of
you make sense of the devil. He said he asked him at the beginning of the movie